I welcome you all to the session of Principle of Hydraulic Machines and System Design, and the topic of today's discussion is the Euler equation for turbo machines, and then we will try to see that the main purpose of installing pump in a pumping station is to develop head. So, if we install a pump in a pumping station, what will be the head being developed by the pump that we need to calculate theoretically. Of course, the theoretical calculation should not be equal to the actual head that we will get from the pumping station, but that those aspects we will be discussing. Okay. So, before I go to discuss about the net head being developed by the pump using theoretical model, what I would like to discuss that in the last class we have discussed about that the turbo machines are the machines in which there is a rotating part or element, and the rotating elements either does work on the fluid or sometimes fluid does work on the rotating element. So, there is energy conversion. Now, that means this energy is converted either from the stored energy of the fluid into the mechanical energy or vice versa. That is, the mechanical energy is converted to increase the stored energy of the fluid. Whatever may be the cases, whether it is pump or turbine that we have discussed in the last class, what I would like to discuss today is that if we consider a radial flow pump. So, if we consider now a radial flow pump, and if we try to draw the pump impeller, we have discussed that there are a few blades and these blades or vanes are mounted on a small part that is known as hub, and this hub plus blades is called impeller if it is pump. The hub plus blades is known as rotor for the compressor, and the same is known as runner for the turbine. So, if we now draw the impeller of a centrifugal pump, that is there will be a hub and say, and we will have a few blades. Like this. Here we have shown the direction of the rotation of the impeller, and when this rotating element that is impeller is rotating, we will get energy conversion, and we have discussed about the radial flow pump in which the flow in the pump is in the direction which is perpendicular to the pump axis. And now question is that whether it is radial flow pump or axial flow pump or it is mixed flow pump, when the flow is approaching the pump impeller and eventually it is coming out from the pump, inside the pump impeller flow is highly three dimensional. This is quite obvious because as the flow approaching the pump impeller, the presence of blades or vanes will allow kind of boundary layer to be developed. Also it is rotating, and because of this rotation there will be different other forces which will be acting on the flow field. So, the presence of different forces together with the formation of boundary layer will make the flow which is highly three dimensional. So, now if we try to analyze that, if we consider the flow velocity inside the pump which is function of 3 positional coordinate r, theta, z, right, 3 positional coordinate. See, why we are going to discuss this part? Today we will be discussing the Euler equation, which is the important equation in the context of turbomachinery, which is used to know at least the theoretical head that will be developed by the pump, or if we use that amount of head in case of a turbine, then of course we can see what will be the power developed by the turbine. Okay. So, now, but for the Euler equation we will be discussing soon that the flow which will be considered for the analysis is one dimensional steady state. Now, despite the fact that there will be the development of boundary layer, there are a few different forces acting on the fluid inside the fluid mass, which is there inside the pump impeller. The flow is highly 3 dimensional. Despite the fact that the flow is highly 3 dimensional, how can we assume the flow is 1 dimensional? Is it only because of the analysis that we are going to do now? But again the question is, we can assume the flow is 1 dimensional, but we should have justification, we should have arguments. So, 1 dimensional flow theory. So, we will be discussing today one dimensional theory. Okay. Right. So, the first one is that, so what we assume, the velocity which is function of 3 positional coordinate r theta z. So, what we can assume, there are many blades, I have drawn at least 4 different blades over here, but there will be a few. What is assumed? If we try to draw the 3 dimensional view of the pump impeller, is like this. So, what is assumed, that it is having certain thickness. Now, this width of the blade at the outlet, width of the blade at the inlet, but it is assumed that the blades are so thin. Now, if there is blade, so these blades are as if the disturbing elements which is trying to disturb the flow field. Now, what is assumed? It is assumed that the blades are so thin that the pressure difference across the blade which is there, and this can be replaced by an imaginary force acting on the fluid and producing torque. So, I hope you have understood. Presence of blade, the presence of blade will make a change in pressure inside the flow field, but it is assumed that the blades are so thin that the pressure difference across the blade which can be replaced by an imaginary force which is acting on the fluid element, fluid mass, and producing torque, right. So, as if the presence of blade, the effect of presence of blade is taken care while we are analyzing the flow dynamics. Okay. So, this is that it is assumed that blades are thin, right, and the pressure difference across the blade is very that is there, but that can be replaced by an imaginary force acting on the fluid and producing torque. Number 2, see, if we can really look at this impeller, we will find that this part through which fluid will come out. So, this fluid will come out in this direction, right. I mean, if I try to give the direction of rotation in the different, say the impeller is rotating in this direction, right. So, what is done? The second important assumption is that these assumptions are employed essentially to have one dimensional analysis Second is that when there is flow between two consecutive blade passes. So, you can see from the schematic that fluid is flowing through a passage which is between two consecutive blades. Now, that means the presence of blades are disturbing the flow field. What we can assume? We can assume the number of blade, there are infinite number of blades, as a result of which the variation of flow velocity across the blade passage, the variation of flow velocity between two successive blade, two consecutive blade passes is very small, right. Rather, we can tell it in a different way that the number of blade is infinitely large, so that the variation of flow velocity in the passage between two consecutive blade reduces and it tends to 0. It in a way indicates flow is axisymmetrical. So, blades I can write number is infinite such that the variation in flow velocity between the passage between the two consecutive blades is very less and it tends to 0. That means, it in a way indicates flow is axisymmetrical. Right. That means, it is del v del theta almost equal to 0, right. So, this is one, and finally, number 3, which is another important assumption. So, velocity is not a function of theta if we employ this one. So, if we now consider that the number of blade is infinite, then the flow is axisymmetric, that is del v del theta 0. So, we can consider this one, right. And third is that, which is important, that in this case what I was discussing about the energy conversion, right. In case of a pump, what is done? We are converting mechanical energy which will be used to increase the stored energy, rather internal energy of the fluid. In case of a pump, either it is pressure or velocity or combination of two. So, what we can say from here is that, inside the impeller there is a part in which energy conversion takes place, and it is assumed that over the part in which the energy conversion takes place, there is no variation of velocity in the meridional plane. Okay. So, that means it indicates del v del z equal to 0, right. So, in the meridional plane. So, if this is the case, then this is also not there. That means, ideally the flow field. So, the first one we have understood, second one we also have understood, third one is that the over the part in which energy transfer takes place, there is no variation of velocity in the meridional plane, and it simply indicates that del v del z will be equal to 0. If that is the case, then we can write this. So, basically what we can discuss from this exercise is that ideally the flow field is 3 dimensional, but eventually discussing these assumptions, considering these assumptions, we have come down to a case in which we can consider that V is function of only R, that is one dimensional. So, if we can write V is only function of R, that is V equal to V R, it stipulates one important point, that it stipulates the assumptions, rather I can say necessity of the assumptions of that the flow is axisymmetric. So, this is very important, that means the flow field is highly 3 dimensional, but we will be considering V the velocity is function of R, that is the velocity varies in the radial direction. So, when the fluid is coming out from the pump, there will be a variation of flow velocity in the radial direction only, and it stipulates the assumptions of infinite number of blades, and hence this is axisymmetrical. Okay. So, now with this next we will go to discuss, because this will be very much important. So, what we have understood? We have understood one important aspect is that despite the fact that the flow is highly 3 dimensional, we still can consider flow is 1 dimensional, provided these assumptions are valid. And of course, there are number of blades in a pump impeller, and blades are of course not very thick. So, basically these assumptions are not very bad assumptions. Okay. Next we will go to discuss the derivation of Euler's equation. So, I am writing Euler's equation of motion. Euler equation of pump, rather this is not Euler equation of motion, this is Euler equation of pump. Okay. So, this is very important equation that we should learn at least here, but before I go to derive this, it would be convenient for us to understand, at least if we try to discuss now the velocity triangles at the inlet and outlet of a pump impeller. So, the example that we have taken initially, that we have a radial flow impeller, a pump of a radial flow impeller. So, this is right. So, this is the impeller of a radial flow pump. Okay. And if we take out, so just for the sake of completeness, I will tell you the small circle that we can see from the schematic is known as hub. So, there are two concentric circles, one is having smaller diameter and the outer circle is having higher diameter. So, the smaller circle is known as hub. So, if we now try to so this is d1 and diameter of the outer circle is d2, right. So, this is d2, and what I said, we need to understand the velocity triangles at the inlet and outlet of the pump, rather inlet to the blade and outlet of the blade, then at least it will help us to understand the Euler equation of turbomachinery, that is for pumps and turbines. Okay. So, if we take out this particular blade, so say we are giving name 1, that is that 1 indicates the number 1 will be indicating inlet quantities, and number 2 which will be used in indicating the quantities at the outlet of the pump. Okay. So, now if we take out this particular blade, say I am trying to if we take out this particular blade and if we try to draw, so this is the blade and this is rotating in this direction. Say the pump is rotating at an angular velocity omega. So, pump I am writing is rotating at angular velocity capital omega, right. So, this is say omega, right, and this point is basically 1 and this point is basically 2. That is what we have discussed, 2 that is outlet and 1 is that is inlet. If we try to draw the velocity triangle, so if we try now to draw the velocity triangles, at least we have to identify what are the velocity components present here. So, pump impeller is rotating at an angular velocity omega, you can see. So, if this will be outer diameter R2 and this will be smaller diameter R1. So, we will have tangential component of velocity at the inlet and tangential component of velocity at the outlet. So, this is the tangential component of velocity, right. You can understand that the tangential component of velocity at the inlet and outlet is not same. This is quite obvious, omega is same, but it will depend on the R1 and R2. Since R1 is smaller than R2, so tangential component of velocity at the inlet will be lesser than that of the outlet. So, this is say this is u1 and this is u2. So, this is u2, this is u2. Okay. And what are the other components? So, we have identified tangential component of velocity at the inlet and outlet of the blade, right. That is obvious because of the pump is rotating at an angular velocity omega and of course, that will be there. Okay, fine. Now, we will have one velocity. So, velocity fluid will enter into the blade passes. So, if we now try to understand the fluid which is now this is the impeller, the inlet is connected like this. So, perpendicular to the plane of this board, and when this impeller is rotating, fluid will enter into this blade passes, I mean into this passage between, which is the passage between two consecutive blades. So, we will have velocity of fluid, but that velocity of fluid will have, that will be the relative velocity because the impeller is continuously rotating. So, we will have relative velocity, or it is in many undergraduate textbooks it is written relative velocity. What do you mean by relative velocity? That is relative velocity of the fluid. So, fluid velocity relative to the blade velocity. So, here u1 and u2, these are the blade velocities at the inlet and outlet of the blade, right. So, velocity of the fluid relative to the blade velocity, that is the relative velocity. So, this is W1, right, and we have relative velocity, that is velocity of fluid relative to the blade velocity, tangential component of velocity of the blade, and if there are two components, we will have one resultant, and that resultant is that resultant component, and that is according to Lami's theorem that we have understood from 10+2 physics. So, this is the resultant velocity, and this resultant component is known as absolute flow velocity. So, this is resultant component, and it is known as absolute flow velocity. Okay. So, this is known as absolute flow velocity. We will discuss slowly now the different angles, and similarly we will have the relative velocity at the outlet. So, velocity of the velocity of the fluid leaving the that is the so this is 0.2. So, velocity of the fluid relative to the blade velocity, that is W2. This is tangential velocity at the outlet of the blade, therefore, we will have resultant, and that is the C2, and this is known as absolute flow velocity C1. So, this is C2, this is absolute velocity. Absolute flow velocity. Okay. So, we have understood the velocity triangles, why it is formed. So, what are the different components? Now, we can consider this triangle using the so this is, say this is U1, this is C1, and the blade, this angle is known as beta. So, the angle from between the absolute velocity, relative velocity and the tangential velocity at the inlet is known as blade angle. So, this beta is blade angle. Right, and this angle, the absolute velocity makes an angle, absolute velocity C1, which is the resultant of these two velocity components that we have discussed. This makes an angle alpha with the tangential component, and that angle is known as flow angle. So, alpha, which is known as flow angle. We will be discussing this when we will be discussing the pump blades, the different types of blades of a pump, then we will be discussing what is blade angle, the importance of this angle on the total head being developed by the pump, we will be discussing. For the time being, at least you should know absolute velocity makes an angle alpha with the tangential component, and that is known as flow angle. Relative velocity makes an angle alpha with the tangential component, that is known as the blade angle. If I now include suffix 1, those are the angles at the inlet. If we include suffix 2, those are the angles at the outlet. Fine. Okay. So, knowing fully that there are 3 different velocity components present. So, we will be discussing soon the head developed by the pump, and we will then discuss which component is responsible for the development of a head in a pump, because again I am telling, in case of a pump, the pump, this rotating part, that is impeller, is driven by either by a diesel engine or by an electric motor. So, whether it is diesel engine operated pump or it is electrically operated pump, in both the cases mechanical energy or electrical energy, I mean electrical energy will be converted to increase the kinetic energy, that is the rotation of the impeller, and that mechanical energy will be converted to increase the stored energy of the fluid in terms of head, and that is what pumps are used. So, basically we will now see soon that which component of velocity is responsible for the head being developed, and that is very much important to know, at least we should know from the industrial point of view. We know that pumps are used to cater water in different places, whether it is water to be supplied in a multi-storied building or water to be supplied in different parts of a industry, whether it is power plant industry or different process industries. So, two important quantities probably I have discussed in the last class are important in the context of pump operation. Those are the head and discharge. So, amount of the the quantity of water that will be supplied by pump and also the amount the head which is being developed. So, now we will go to discuss about the Euler equation. Okay. So, if we now go to discuss about the Euler equation of pump. Okay. So, again we need to draw the impeller of a radial flow pump. So, if we try to draw the impeller of a radial flow pump. Right. So, pump is rotating in the counterclockwise direction at an angular velocity omega, that is what we have discussed, and we will be discussing the liquid will come out from inlet, we will suck the pump will suck liquid from the sump through the inlet, and then while the impeller is rotating, liquid will come out in this direction, that is liquid will flow through the passage which is formed between two consecutive blades, and then liquid will be guided by another part which is known as pump casing, that we will be discussing soon. So, liquid will come out in this direction and the liquid which is being discharged by the impeller will be guided to follow a certain direction and eventually liquid will come out in this direction. This is what is important. Okay. Those part again we will be discussing in this course, but at least for the timing we should know that the amount of head that will be developed by the pump. Okay. If I now take out a certain blade, again I am telling, if we take out a particular blade from the impeller for the analysis, say our focus is on this particular blade. So, if I try to identify that blade using different color, say I am using this green color, and I will be discussing, but we will be considering this blade. Okay. So, say this is this blade we will take for the discussion, and if we try to draw the blade, this is rotating with an angular velocity omega. So, this is one. From the previous discussion, at least now we are in a comfortable place to draw the velocity triangle, and that is why I did this exercise. And also for this Euler equation, as now we are in the process of deriving the equation, we will be assuming the steady and one dimensional flow. And now again I am telling the one dimensional flow which we need to assume, whether this assumption is really valid or not, for that we have argued. Okay. So, now if we can if we draw the velocity triangles at the inlet, so this is U2, this is C2, this is W2, this is beta 2, this is alpha 1, this is beta 1, this is alpha 2. Okay. So, we have drawn the velocity triangles at the inlet and outlet. We have identified three different velocity components, that is the tangential component, component of relative velocity and the absolute velocity. Okay. We have also denoted the angles, that is the blade angle and flow angle, both at inlet and outlet, right. And we have shown that the pump is rotating in the at an angular velocity omega. Okay. So, maybe I am sorry, here direction of the rotation is shown in the reverse direction. Right. Okay. So, now we should try to derive the expression of head. We have used the word head many times, that what is this? So, basically pumps are used to build up pressure. If we try to supply water, again I am taking this example, that if we try to supply water in the top floor of a multi-storied building. So, we need to overcome the static height difference. Also, you have understood from the fluid mechanics course that when fluid is flowing through a pipe, any conduit flow passage, frictional losses will be there. There will be other losses like the losses due to change in direction, losses due to sudden expansion. So, including all the losses, there will be again another head, that is known as dynamic head. So, basically we need to, if we need to supply water in a tank which is situated at the top of a multi-storied building, and we will be taking water from the groundwater tank, then there are two things we need to keep in mind while designing the pumping station or selecting the pump. What are those two important things? First of all, the amount of water I need to supply there, that is quantity, that is discharge, which is known as, or another one is the head. So, that means we need to overcome the static height, also the dynamic head, that is response, that will take care the frictional losses and other losses. Okay. So, if we install a pump over there, I mean we will be sure that the pump will be able to meet the demand. Now, that pump will be supplied by a pump supplier. So, whenever a pump designer will be designing the pump, he needs to design properly, so that the component of velocities will be in such a way that the head which will be developed, that will be able to cater the need. Okay. So, what is done? Now, what we have understood, that in case of a pump or turbines, the energy conversion takes place, right, whether it is from mechanical energy into the stored energy of the fluid or vice versa. In the analysis of energy transfer, rather it is a process, the energy transfer process, whether it is pump or turbine, that is in turbo machines, we need to consider a control volume which will enclose the rotor, not a rotor, it is basically rotor, I mean runner for the turbine or impeller for a pump. So, basically in the analysis of energy transfer process of the turbo machines, because we will be driving a generic equation, and that will now from there we will try to draw some conclusions. Okay. So, basically in the process, I mean in the analysis of energy transfer process in the turbo machines, whether it is pump or turbine, a control volume enclosing the rotating element, whether it is impeller or runner of a generalized turbo machines is considered. So, I am not, I mean we need to consider control volume. So, if we try to consider, this is the control volume, right. Right, the control volume. Okay. And what we can understood, that this pump impeller is, I mean inlet to this impeller is like this, which is perpendicular to this plane of this board, and liquid will come in this direction, it will enter into the pump, and because of this pumping action it will go off. So, what we can understand, the inlet fluid, the fluid which will be entering into the pump or turbine, if it is I mean rather I should say in a generic form, that is in turbo machine, it will have swirling motion. So, basically this, I mean it is not that we should not have swirling action. So, maybe the incoming fluid may have the rotational motion of the fluid fluid particle about its axis, and this rotational motion of the fluid, I mean what I am telling is that the fluid particles of fluid which is coming and entering into the pump or turbine, they will have rotation about their axis, I mean fluid element, and their axis of their rotational motion may be in the direction of pump rotation, or it may be the rotation may be in the opposite direction of the pump rotation. So, what I would like to tell you that here we have assumed that the pump is rotating in the counterclockwise direction. If we connect this inlet of pump with a pipeline, when the liquid is coming and entering into the pump, the fluid element which are coming and entering, this fluid element they themselves may rotate, and the direction of rotation may be in the direction of the pump impeller, or the direction of rotation may be in the opposite direction of the pump impeller. In both the cases we have swirling motion, right. So, we will be seeing soon that means, and so basically because of this swirling motion there will be different forcing components which will be acting, right. So, we need to know that if we take that all the forces are present and all the forces will try to give rise to the torque, and that is what we have considered, right, that the one dimensional theory. So, what we can assume? We can consider flow is steady, flow is steady and one dimensional, right. So, now you can assume that the one dimensional theory that we have discussed in today, which is very much important to know, which is very much important for this Euler equation. Okay. So, we are considering this. Now, for the one dimensional and steady flow, as we have discussed that the fluid element which are entering to the pump or turbine, they might have rotation, and similarly the fluid element which is coming out from the pump or turbine, they also have rotation. So, basically there will be different component of forces which will be acting on the fluid mass, either it is, I mean as long as the fluid mass is there inside the pump, right. So, for the one dimensional and steady flow, sum of the moment of the external forces acting on the fluid temporarily occupying in the control volume. So, that means as long as the fluid is occupying in this control volume temporarily, for I mean at that instant, sum of moment of all external forces will be equal to the rate of rather net time rate of efflux of the angular momentum. So, this is the concept. So, what we have assumed, there will be forcing components which will be acting on the control volume on the acting on the fluid mass which is there in the control volume temporarily. Now, if we take the moments, sum of all the moments of the external forces acting on that fluid mass temporarily occupying the control volume will be equal to the net time rate of efflux of the angular momentum from the control volume. So, that means, if we try to apply from Newton's second law of motion, this torque sum of moment, and that will be equal to what? That is very much important, that sum of moment will be equal, that is sum of moment of all external forces, and that is nothing but torque, and that torque will be equal to what? This torque will be equal to rate of change of. So, I am writing this will be equal to rate of change of angular momentum, that is what I was talking about, angular momentum. Right, sum of change of angular momentum, or I have discussed about that the net time rate of efflux of the angular momentum from the control volume. Okay. So, if I now write, that is nothing but m dot, if m dot is the mass flow rate, right, and then we know. So, this is R1. So, if we try to write, so this is R2 and the smaller radius of the smaller cycle is R1. So, m2 m dot into, now this is the tangential component, right, but the absolute velocity swirling, that is what I was talking about. See, the absolute component of velocity is responsible for the swirling motion, right, that we will be discussing soon. So, the absolute component of velocity both at the inlet and outlet, they are responsible for the swirling motion. So, if we try to take the component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction at inlet, and that is known as c theta 1. I will be using this nomenclature throughout this course. So, this c theta 1 is known as the component known as the swirl component at the inlet, that is nothing but the component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction at inlet, right. So, and this is c theta 2, right. So, now I have told you. Now, basically what I need to know, the component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction, that is nothing but what? That is nothing but c 1 cos alpha 1, right, and r 1 will be there, because this is the radius. So, this is radius r 1, because ultimately we need to take moment of force, that is torque. So, this will be c 2 cos alpha 2 r 2, right. So, this is m 2 m dot c 2 cos alpha 2 r 2 minus c 1 cos alpha 1 r 1, right. So, this is we can write from this schematic. Now, what will be power? So, this is, I think this is clear. So, this is the difference between these two components c theta 2 and c theta 1, right. So, basically the component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction, which is c 1 cos alpha 1 times r 1 and c 2 cos alpha 2 times r 2, the difference, these two components multiplied the mass flow rate, that will give rise to torque. If we try to write the power, see we are interested in the power, because ultimately we need to know the head which will be developed by the pump. If we consider the power, and then we can write torque into omega, because the pump is rotating at an angular velocity omega. So, we can write m dot into c 2 cos alpha 2 r 2 minus r 1 c 1 cos alpha 1 into omega. We can simply replace c 2 cos alpha 2 and c 1 cos alpha 1 by c theta 2 and c theta 1, right. So, we can write that it is nothing but m dot into, we can write r 2 into omega. So, that is nothing but u 2, r 2 into omega, that is nothing but the tangential component at the outlet. So, we can write u 2 c theta 2 minus u 1 c theta 1. Why? Because r 2 omega, that is nothing but u 2 and r 1 omega is u 1, right, and c 1 cos alpha 1, that is c theta 1, and c 2 cos alpha 2, that is c theta 2. Okay. So, we have simplified this expression. Now, if we go to the next slide, so ultimately we have come up to here, that is power, which is nothing but torque into omega, we can express in this form. So, if we go to the next slide, so power P equal to m dot, then u 2 c theta 2 minus u 1 c theta 1, right. See what will be the power developed by the pump, right. So, if I now try, rather if we assume that that particular pump is installed in place where pump is expected to supply Q meter cube per second amount, this is the quantity, this amount will be discharged by the pump against a head of H meter, right. So, just for an example I am assuming that particular pump is installed in a station in which pump is responsible to supply water, say water density is rho, right. So, this is I mean kg per, so I am meter cube, right. So, if we assume the water will be supplied by the pump at an height h and amount is q. So, q amount q meter cube per second at this rate water will be supplied by this pump at an height h, and in that case what will be power? Power will be rho cube h into g, and this is nothing but m dot, that is nothing but rho cube. So, u 2 c theta 2 minus u 1 c theta 1, right. So, if we write one step further, so these are the, if I write one step further, what we can write? Our objective is to know this fellow, and that is nothing but u 2 c theta 2 minus u 1 c theta 1 divided by g, right. So, our objective is to know this fellow, because this is what is important to know from the pump, whether the pump will be able to deliver that water at that height or not, right. So, when a pump designer is designing the pump, the most important quantities are the Q and H. In particular, this is very important quantity to know. Now, at least by doing this exercise, we have been able to drive over here is that the head being developed by the pump is nothing but this, right. So, what we can write, what we can conclude, what we can conclude from here is that the head, so this head, this is head developed by the pump, right. So, it is very important to know at this point of time that the head developed by the pump depends on u 2 c theta 2 u 1 c theta 1, right. So, at least tangential component, tangential velocity components u 2 and u 1 and the component of absolute velocity at the inlet and outlet in the tangential direction. So, basically component of absolute velocity in the tangential direction at both inlet and outlet, and also the tangential component velocities, velocity of tangential components. So, G is fixed, at least I would like to draw an important conclusion from here. G is fixed, we can vary u 2 c theta 2 u 1 and c theta 1. If you would like to increase, so our objective should be to have more head from a pump. If you would like to have it, then from this expression at least we can tell if we increase u 2, then this quantity will increase, but we cannot increase u 2 arbitrarily. If you would like to increase u 2 for a given omega, we need to increase R 2, that means the pump impeller diameter will be high, and that is again we need to think about. C theta 2 if we increase, if we would like to increase, if we go to the previous slide, you can see C theta 2 if you would like to increase, that component of absolute velocity at the outlet. Now, this fellow will increase provided, now if I try to draw in a different color again, that means this fellow will increase if we increase this quantity, this is C 2 dash. So, in that case it will be C theta 2 dash. So, that means if we try to increase C theta 2, the absolute velocity leaving the pump will increase, and again there is a restriction that we cannot allow the absolute velocity of the water leaving the pump impeller should be high. In that case, leaving loss will be high, that is half mc2 square. So, again we cannot go for that. So, the option is that if we cannot increase u1, I mean if we increase u1, then what will be the problem? Problem will be h will be reduced. So, we can reduce h1 u1, that means we can reduce r1. So, again we cannot go beyond a particular value. So, objective should be if we can make this quantity negative, or at least if we can make this quantity 0. So, those part we will be discussing later, but at least before I complete today's discussion, I would like to tell you one important point. Now, this equation is known as Euler equation for pumps. This C theta u2 C theta 2 minus u1 C theta 1, that quantity is greater than 0, right. So, this quantity u2 C theta 2 minus u1 C theta 1, this quantity is greater than 0, and this is known as Euler equation for pump and compressor. You can see, because we need positive head. If this quantity is less than 0, so this is Euler equation for pumps and compressor as well. If this quantity u2 C theta 2 minus u1 C theta 1 is less than 0, you can understand, in that case it is known as Euler equation for turbine. In that case, fluid does work on the machine, rotating element. For the pump, rotating part does work on the fluid. So, this is Euler equation for turbine, right. And see, this is known as Euler equation for pumps and turbines, depending on the magnitude of this quantity. Fine. Finally, you should know that the head developed by the pump, which is written over here, that the expression of the head which is written over here is the ideal head, because again I am telling, we have taken a few assumptions, that is one dimensional flow theory. As long as blades are there, boundary layer will develop, there will be the frictional effect, there will be formation of vortices as it is rotating. So, because of this, again if I go to the previous slide, when the fluid is trying to come out from the pump impeller, when the fluid is flowing in the passage which is formed between two consecutive blades, then it is rotating. So, we will have a kind of vortices which may form, rather which will form. Now, to sustain the vortices will sustain, and to sustain the vortices they will try to take energy from the main flow. So, basically the expression, the Euler equation, the expression which we have written, this expression will give you the ideal head. So, this quantity will not give you the actual quantity. So, if you consider that if I design the pump in such a way that the C theta will be this, C1 will be this, that means alpha 1 beta 1 and alpha 2 beta 2, if you tune this, eventually you will get this head, and this head you will not get it, because this is the ideal one. That means, if I go to the next slide, so that means this H is equal to u2 C theta 2 minus u1 C theta 1 by G, this is the ideal head, right, the ideal head. So, the actual head you can clearly see, actual head will be always lesser than the ideal head. Okay. So, the actual head will be always less than the ideal head, and this will be multiplied by a factor, and that factor is known as eta hydraulic. So, basically this eta hydraulic is nothing but, you can understand, this factor eta hydraulic will be definitely less than 1. So, that the actual head will be always lesser than the ideal head, and this eta hydraulic, which is nothing but H actual by H ideal, which is known as hydraulic efficiency of the pump. There are different efficiencies we will be discussing in the context of the discussion in this course, but at least here today you should know this is known as hydraulic efficiency. Sometimes in many books it is written manometric efficiency. So, the actual head developed by the pump to the ideal head developed by the pump is known as the hydraulic efficiency. Okay. So, this is what is important, and we will see next in the next class that by tuning these components we can see whether the head, another ideal head, whether they will be developed by the pump can be increased or decreased. So, those aspects we will be discussing in the next class. With this I stop here today. Thank you.